Hello everyone, welcome to our session on class aves, and in this session we are going to discuss about migration in birds. Generally speaking, migration is a movement of animals from one place to another, and this movement may be rhythmic, which usually involves a journey from one place to another and back again. Majority of the birds also have this inherent ability to move from one place to another, and in birds it is to obtain the advantages of favorable conditions. And those birds which do such movements to get the favorable environment or the favorable conditions are usually termed as migratory birds. And we do have the type or the category of birds which are called as resident birds, which means the birds which do not migrate. They remain all through their lifetime in their home range. In birds, the migration usually has two-way journeys: the onward journey from their home range to a new place, and the backward journey from the new place to the home range. So this movement usually occurs during a particular period of the year, and the birds usually follow the same route. We will discuss about the route and also the reasons, the advantages, the disadvantages, etc. as we move forward with this particular topic. So migration was a problem or a studied topic from the time immemorial. And the scientific study of this migration was obtained by the different techniques like banding, then ringing the birds for marking and identifying the birds, and also the experimental methods both in laboratory and field. And all these methods gave us the knowledge about migration and how it occurs, its physiology, etc. in birds. So coming to the types of migration, we have about three different types of migrations. First is daily migration. So daily migration is from their home base to their feeding grounds and back. And the example of such daily migrants are house sparrow. They migrate from their nesting area to the area where they can get food, and they come back to their nesting ground or their home base. And such type of daily migrations can be called such type of migrations are called as daily migrations. The next one is seasonal migration. Seasonal from the category or from the term itself, it refers to the migration in response to the changes in seasons. The birds which rest in the temperate and frigid zones go to warmer areas in the winter and then return to their breeding grounds in the following spring. Such migration of the birds is common in Europe, America, North America, and Asia. Example is of wagtails, which is migrating to India and other places from Siberia. Next is the cyclic migration, the third type. Cyclic migration is seasonal, but it does not happen at regular intervals. So if it happens at regular intervals and if it is seasonal, they are called as seasonal migration. But the migrations which are the migrations of some birds is seasonal but do not occur at regular intervals. Examples: the occasional migrations of snowy owl of US in winter depends upon a 3 to 5 year cycle, and this cycle is called as a lemming cycle. And this particular snowy owl, their main food is this lemmings, and it is with this lemming cycle or the growth and maturity of the lemming cycle, this particular migration of snowy owl happens, and that's seasonal, but it does not occur in every year or in a cyclic manner or at regular intervals. That's why this particular type of migration is referred to as cyclic rather than seasonal. Next one is latitudinal migration. It is a movement from north to south and vice versa, from south to north. Several North American and Eurasian birds cross the equator to spend the winter in deeper and warmer parts of South America and Africa. Examples of this are the golden plover, which passes the 9 months of winter, which is about 12,000 kilometers south in the plains of Argentina, thus enjoying 2 summers each year. Another example is another bird, the rough breeds at Siberia, travels to Great Britain, Africa, India, Sri Lanka, etc., traveling about 9,000 kilometers. Some tropical birds migrate during the rainy season to outer tropics to breed and then return to the central tropics in dry season. Next is the other one, longitudinal. Longitudinal means the migration in the east-west and west to east directions. The examples such as the Patagonian, and that occurs during the September and October for breeding. Next is altitudinal migration. This is vertical migration from high altitudes or high mountains to low valleys in the winter, which is common among the mountain dwelling birds in India and other countries. To take the examples, in India, a number of species migrate from the plains to the slopes of Himalayas, ascending thousands of meters above the sea level and return to the plain during the winter. Example is the common woodcock and bustard, etc., are examples of such altitudinal migrants. So these are the 6 different types of migration depending upon the direction, etc. So next is we are moving on to the next subtopic, which is migratory status. So depending upon the type or migration, the birds are given a particular status depending upon the type of migration they do. The first one is the permanent residents. The second is the summer residents or summer visitors, winter residents or winter visitors, and transient, of which the permanent residents are those species which usually do not migrate. They are usually seen in the same place during or all throughout their lifetime. They can also be called as non-migrants. Next is the summer residents or summer visitors. These are the birds which move to their breeding grounds in the spring, rear their young ones during the summer, and return to the winter grounds in the fall. The third type is the winter residents or winter visitors, which include those species which move to their breeding grounds to spend their winter in a more suitable place where food is available in plenty. This phenomenon is particularly found in insect-eating birds, as in severe weather the food supply will be affected. The last type is the transient visitors or passage migrants, are those species which pass through a locality usually twice a year, once in the spring to their breeding grounds and again in the fall on their way back to their winter grounds. So these are the 4 different classification depending upon or classified on the basis of their migratory status. Next is migratory behavior. So coming to their migratory behavior of birds, after several experiments like tagging the birds, then different laboratory experiments experimenting on their physiology, etc., it was found that migratory movements does not occur at random. It is not a random type of movement. Each species of birds, if you observe, they have a particular or a characteristic geographic distribution during the breeding season. The route followed is definite, and the time taken for migration is also more or less constant, in the sense that usually the birds migrate in the particular season of the year, and if they visit some places during their migratory movement or migratory period, you can expect them the next year in the same place, more or less in the same time, that means in the same month, etc. That's why we say that it does not occur at random. and it can be called as a somewhat precise movement of birds, and it is their flight to their breeding grounds and then to their winter grounds. Migration also occurs at specific time of the day, and there are also birds which migrate during the night. Birds which are weak flyers like cuckoos, thrushes, etc. can be classified as nocturnal migrants. Birds which are fast flyers usually migrate during the day. So this is regarding their migratory behavior. Coming to the extent of migration. So how extend or how long does this birds migrate? There are birds which migrate or which is having a longer migratory routes. They cover something around a distance of 11,200 kilometers, like the swift. Then there are shallow migrants, or swifts and shallows migrate from the northern Europe to South Africa and fly in either directions in about 9,600 to 11,200 kilometers. The longest and the most remarkable of all migration is that of the Arctic tern. It breeds in the Arctic Circle and then migrates to the Antarctic, that is from one pole to the other region during the winter. It takes up a long journey, and the journey is about 38,000 kilometers from Arctic to Antarctic and back during migration. There are some birds which migrate to short distances. Examples: the birds which migrate from southern Canada to the northern United States.